During a devastating storm, a priest, an old man, and a realist seek shelter underneath a destroyed Rashomon temple gateway. There they try to piece together the events that took place earlier, involving a court case with a dead man, an assaulted woman, and a bandit, with each testimony adding more questions and trying to find out what truly happened. Rashomon is a mystery crime thriller created by the legendary Akira Kurosawa that deals with subjects of not quite trusting anyone, not truly understanding the events they're in, and allowing the audience and the characters to make their own conclusion off of their own prejudices. And as the story unfolds, it raises the question, what is the truth? As the story begins, we are first introduced to this as basically gossip, with the old man and priest trying to reflect on what really happened, that this is such a crazy series of events that they can't quite figure it all out completely. This is what entices the realist. So as they begin the story, the priest and the old man talk about their first-hand accounts, as they were involved in the court case itself. The old man telling of how he found the body, and the priest about how he met the husband and wife before merely walking across and just seeing a man and wife. We see the parallels between them, the old man coming across this from the tail end of the story, and the priest coming in at the very, very, very beginning of the story. Our first official witness is the famous bandit Tajimaru, who doesn't seem to be quite right in the head, as he laughs for no apparent reason, finds humor in the non-humorous, and reflects on the events therein, claiming that he was lured in to take this woman who was with this husband by the very wind itself, went up to the man to offer them some sort of cruel trick to separate them, where he would then bind up the husband, take advantage of the woman, and show his true nature. He claims that after he bound up the husband, he did take advantage of the wife, and as she took a dagger to try to attack him, it did no use, and that mid-intimacy, she actually fell for him. And he claimed that she wanted to be with him, but only to be fair and allow the husband to fight for her, where they ended up fighting to the death, with the bandit succeeding and the wife running away. And yet, despite him taking the swords and the rope from the crime scene and leaving the body, the dagger was never recovered. As we move on to the next witness, the three men reflect on what they heard from the testimony and think that they can't believe him. He is a bandit, he's a thief, he's a liar. So nothing he says can be true. And so their biases of him immediately as a criminal means that his testimony is not the truth. And the priest doesn't believe of the survivor, of the woman. In her testimony, the woman was found crying her eyes out at the base of a different temple, and she tells a different story. How her husband was tied up, Tajimaru stole all of her things and left. She tells how he violated her, and as the husband looked at her with not empathy or anger, just a pure loathing, she begged him to stop looking at her that way. She would do anything, even offering to end her own life, just begging him to not judge her and be disgusted by her over the actions of another person violating her. She said that the sheer horror and shock of looking at her husband made her pass out, and the next thing she saw was the very dagger she had in her husband's chest, where she passed out yet again and woke up at the pond that she was at the very beginning of their encounter. She attempted to end her own life, but failed. The survivor's testimony is so much more confusing than that of the bandits, despite both of them not being in their right mind. They have more of a sway towards the survivor, seeing her as a weak, timid person, and the bandit as an evil, horrible criminal. We come to the third and final testimony, one that the priest automatically believes no matter what, as this one tests his very faith in humanity. A mystic medium who has the ability to channel the dead does a ceremony to take the very soul possessed of the dead husband, and the witness testimony he had. The medium claims that the bandit, after attacking his wife, tried to comfort her, claiming that she could no longer be with her husband, and he only attacked her out of his love for her, that she should marry him instead and leave her husband. When she had heard that, she was in a trance-like state, that she had never looked at the husband in that way. Despite him being feet away, she had this longing, loving look towards the bandit, begging the bandit to take her wherever he wanted, if he kills the husband. The bandit becomes horrified with this request and angry, throwing the woman at the ground. He goes to the tied-up husband, silently staring upon the whole situation, asking the husband, "If you wish me to kill her, all you need do is nod, and I shall do so." The husband, disgusted with the whole situation, wants nothing to do with her. She runs away as the bandit chases her, only to return hours later by himself, saying, "You need not worry about her fate, only your own." And he cuts the husband free. The husband, heartbroken, with his entire world shattered, takes the same dagger his wife attacked the bandit with to stab his own heart, and the last thing he remembers was someone coming by and taking the dagger. The realist reflects on everything he's heard and comes to the conclusion that the old man has lied, that he was witness to the events that took place. And much like the legendary demon who ran to a Rashomon in fear of mankind, so did the old man. He claimed that Tajamaru had gotten on his knees begging the woman for forgiveness for what he did, that he had lived his life in the pursuit of doing whatever he wanted and always getting his way. Even though he had had her, he wanted more of her. But the wife cried relentlessly, with no end. He promises her everything, to abandon being a bandit, to give her everything he's ever captured, to give her a home, to fight for her, to do anything, to risk his life for her, that he would throw away his very life for her. The husband, having had enough, calls her a shameless whore, that for her to choose to be with him makes the horse that they rode in on more valuable than she is. Both the husband and the bandit see her true nature as she laughs maniacally, and they both decide to leave. She claims to have manipulated the whole circumstances for the bandit to kill her husband, so she can be free of his controlling nature. Both of their manliness are put into question as they draw swords, swinging wildly in every direction, neither truly being good at fighting, it seems, and both seeming like cowards, with the uneasy bandit killing the husband and going back to the woman who is now horribly afraid of him. As he takes the sword and attempts to chase after her, he trips and laments what he did. He then takes both swords and runs off. The three, reflecting on what the old man had seen, in the distance hear a baby crying in a kimono, abandoned at the temple. The realist, hearing this, steals the kimono from the crying baby, as the old man chastises him and claims that he is a horrible human being and deceitful and selfish, whereas the realist screams at him he is no better. He lied to the courts, he lied to everyone. He is also a manipulator and deceitful, and that he is no different than the old man, but the old man is no different than the criminals themselves. Silently, the old man reflects on his own actions, and as the story concludes, the realist runs away, with the priest, having lost all of his faith in humanity, hearing these horrible stories, wants to take care of the baby with no means to do so, but the old man offers to take the child and give it a proper home with his other children, restoring the faith and hope for the future with honesty and compassion as the sun rises for a new chance. So, what is the truth? The term true means to not be false, the opposite of good and bad. But the world, unfortunately, is not black and white. Rashomon is a very much reflection of this notion. The entire story focuses on the perspectives of the narrators, the perspectives of the witnesses, and the perspectives of those who experienced it. The events therein only matter to the people that it happened to, but only the people that it happened to know the true nature of what really happened. Much like our own truth, we can only discover it within ourselves. We can reflect, change, and even lie to ourselves to sense some sort of moral superiority. Throughout the story, each of the characters reflect on their own preconceived notions. They labeled the criminal as a liar from the get-go before he even spoke. They labeled the woman as an innocent before she spoke. And the priest automatically believed the dead over the living. Their own biases have labeled before any sort of truth was even able to be spoken. The realist, the priest, and the old man find out that the very people making these judgments are not truthful themselves, questioning their own realities, faiths, biases, and what it is to know truth. But I believe that to know what truth truly is, you do have to be able to know what a lie is, which is something we never really can do. A lie is a lie, and the truth can be just as vague in some capacities. But ultimately, it's up to us to each individually come to the conclusions. What really matters is if we do not let truth or falsehoods sway our own moral judgments and allow us to be wrong, much like the old man who started as a liar and ended, hopefully, honest. But in the end, these aren't answers, they're hypotheticals.
I thought they'd been thrown away.
You'll need them to get home.
My goodbye card's still here. Chihiro. Chihiro. That's my name, isn't it?
That's how Yubaba controls you, by stealing your name. So hold on to that card, keep it hidden, and while you're here, you must call yourself Sen.
I can't believe I forgot my name. She almost took it from me.
If you completely forget it, you'll never find your way home. I've tried everything to remember mine.